Hello, and welcome to the Mommy Escape Time podcast. I am Lauren, your host, and I have a 1-year-old son. I started this podcast for any mother who might feel alone in their journey through motherhood. Becoming a mom is hard no matter how you get there, and this podcast is about the mom stuff that comes up in our lives. Listen, enjoy, and connect with us on the Mommy Escape Time podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Mommy Escape Time podcast. Today, I am here with someone. And I am here back with Theresa. Hi, Theresa.
Hi, Lauren.
So just remind everyone who is in your family.
My husband. We have been married almost 8 years, and my 3 kids. I have a 6-year-old girl, Lane, 4.5-year-old girl, Vale, and a 1.5-year-old boy, Trip.
All right, and my son is 6 weeks younger than Trip.
Yep.
And I think I know I've mentioned it one time, but I don't think I've mentioned it since, but we've known each other a long time. At least 10 years, I would say.
Over 10 years now, because it would have been 2006 that we met.
Oh my gosh. You remember 13. Dates and everything.
13. Well, because it was our first semester at grad school.
Oh yeah. So it was your first year on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. So yeah, I guess that's a big change. You might remember,
Not hard. Yeah. It's not hard for me to place
zones.
That.
Yeah.
In the timeline. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I could I just never stopped going to school. So, it's hard for me to remember.
It all blends in together.
Yeah. So today, Theresa and I are going to talk about discipline. And we're not going to talk about maybe how we discipline our kids, but we're going to talk about how we found out how to discipline, maybe some people who have influenced us on how to get to our, how we maybe use discipline, and maybe how we even got to discipline with our kids. Theresa obviously is a little further along with her children, as an 18-month-old ironically does not need as much discipline as maybe a 6-year-old does.
Yes, or for sure a 4.5-year-old. That
all the fun
that's
things.
The fun one. I kind of feel like, and I don't know, I'd love to hear from other moms with even older kids, because I know that as they get older, it changes even more. But I feel like right now I'm kind of like over a hump with my 6-year-old. Like, yes, she still needs discipline, and yes, she gets in trouble. I mean, for sure. But it's much, much different, and I would say easier to discipline her than it is to discipline my 4-year-old, partly because of personality, but also I really think a huge part of it is like age. I just think that she's able to get it more. She knows the rules, and she's figuring out how to follow them because she does so on, such a regular basis at school, and it's reinforced both at home and at school. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, but yeah. I think
age matters is what you're getting at.
Yes.
It's funny.
And I'd love to hear what older moms or moms with older kids say, if it even still gets easier, or if it all starts over again when they hit, that tween years and stuff.
I've actually heard that for boys that the 14-year-old age is a very difficult age. It's a very pulling away from your parents' age, hormonal age, and all that. So yeah, I have heard that.
Oh, we'll see.
Yeah, you got a long way to go for that. So
yeah.
All right, so let's start at the beginning. Let's start maybe when you were pregnant, or when you had kids, or even before you had kids. Did you think about reading anything about discipline, or as you were preparing to have a child, anything pop up about discipline?
No, and that's one of the things about parenthood. When you first start out on this journey of parenthood, and you're all in this state of bliss, and you have this baby shower, and all you get are baby gifts for the first 6 months, but then after 6 months you're like on your own, because nobody gets you anything for anything that happens after the baby is 6 months old. And so, it's discipline is one of those same things where I feel like it's just, you don't even think about it. And I can remember looking at her as a newborn, as I'm sure all mothers have, and I looked at her and I'm like, how am I ever going to get mad at you? You are like perfection. You will never do anything wrong. You just never will. And I mean, I quickly figured that out, that was not the case, but no, I never spent too much time thinking about it. And partly one of my I guess, nuggets of wisdom that I try to tell new moms is don't think about don't worry about the future. Don't think about it too much because yes, there's going to be troubles down the road and yes, things are going to happen, don't think about, oh, just wait till she starts getting into
Right.
this or oh, just wait, just wait, just wait. Don't don't just wait, like live. Enjoy it, don't worry about what's coming to a degree, you know what I mean,
Right.
like, yes, you have to plan for the future, but don't dwell on it, don't think about that bad times are coming or that it's gonna get harder or whatever. Just enjoy where you are, whichever stage you're in of parenting with your kids, just enjoy it.
Right.
So,
And
no.
I know. And it's funny how people tell me that all the time. They're like, oh, oh, you just wait until he turns,
Mhm,
this age and then you'll have to deal with this and that. And
mhm,
it's so hard for me because my child, I mean, I am very lucky. I have a very
mhm,
easy child and he is very good and he follows directions and,
mhm,
um,
mhm,
you know, everything is just so cute. I mean, it's like you said, like I remember being like, I'll never be able to say no to this kid. Like I'll
mhm,
never be able to say no.
mhm,
And I can say no to certain things, but not
mhm,
strongly enough yet because he's still like he's just so cute and oh my gosh,
mhm.
it's just so hard.
So can we jump right into disciplining my 1-year-old right now? Can I just move right
Sure.
ahead? Because I have the funniest story, and it's like hot off the press, like story that just happened tonight before bed. And it's a little embarrassing, a little TMI, but I'm gonna go with it. So I had to go to the bathroom. I went in and I went to the restroom and as a mother, we know we don't get privacy in the bathroom.
No.
So I'm sitting down to pee and he comes in. He comes he came in the bathroom and he grabbed the toilet paper and now it's
Right.
attached to the thing, attached to the wall. But he grabs it and he pulls and he runs. I mean, bolts out of the bathroom and runs and just like start. And of
Unraveling.
course, I don't think, hey, just
Stop it. Like rip it
yeah, just
off.
rip it off, right? I don't think that. I'm like, Trip, get back here, come back, come back, come back. And and so then he turns around. So you haven't seen the way my bathroom is,
No.
but anyway, I can see him for quite a while. And so he turns around and he gives me this smirk that says he is going to give me trouble in the future. And he goes, "Uh-uh." And then he proceeded to sit down on the ground and start tearing the toilet paper into little shreds. And I'm like, Trip, no, naughty, naughty. So then quickly I wiped that off the toilet, whatever. And I went over I just gave him this little swat. I'm like, not, I didn't,
Right.
I wasn't disciplining. I just gave him
Right.
a little swat. I was like, no, sir. And he looked up at me like, hey.
Ah,
So he's going to need some discipline in the future, I'm realizing. but that's but up until today, I mean, this kid has been like you said. I mean, like he doesn't test me yet. We're not at that stage, but I guess maybe now we're entering it as of today. But yeah, he's so far super easygoing, and I don't feel like I ever have to tell him no or you know. Anyway, so that's my funny story for the day.
yeah. And I'm trying to think. I don't think I think about discipline, like preparing to discipline my kid at all before he was born or even after he was born even.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, I think I think I was like, oh, like you said, like I just sort of like wait for it to come. Like it's very hard to say like how you're going to react at any situation, and you can prepare all
Yep.
you want, but it's you don't know what it's going to be. It could be, what if he does this every day?
Hmm.
Every time he knows that
Hmm.
you can't get up and run after him, that's what he's going to do, you
Hmm.
know? Oh,
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
yes. So, did you expect with any of your kids, like, oh, like at 2 or oh, at 4, this will be the time that I'll have to
No,
start?
no, I didn't really expect or know when it was going to start. When Lane, I remember her when I started needing to be watchful of her behavior was right around her second birthday. Um, she she was starting to show some impulsive, like, she would hit kids at the gym because
Mm,
we would go to the gym daycare and she would be in there a few times a week. And I would see the behavior myself. I would see it like totally unprompted. She would just maybe like swat a kid or try to take the toy and then hit them to try to get the toy or little things like that, little
right,
typical 2-year-old things.
right,
And I remember because she was my first, I was so I was embarrassed, I was ashamed, I felt like I had done something wrong, like why is my kid doing this? She never did this before. And it wasn't like until a lot later that it dawned on me that it's not that something changed, like it's not that I did something or that something happened specifically. It's just time and it was her age and also it was her character starting to come out. It's, impulsivity is something that she still deals with to this day. She doesn't necessarily go up and just whack a kid, but she still has impulsive behavior. So it manifests and turns into something else. Um, but at that time, that's kind of what it looked like for her impulsive behaviors. If she would get super excited, she would push a kid just out of in excitement and think
right.
she was being funny. And I didn't know how to discipline that for a long time. And I didn't I was embarrassed. Like I said, if it happened, I was so like I would turn red and I would not know what to do and I would just feel really overwhelmed very quickly. And then I think with my second, I had that experience and I was expecting something to happen around the same age and she presented very differently. She was much more calm and easygoing and then she started her discipline needs were not impulsive in an impulsive nature or in a nature of where she would hurt other kids or be have behavioral issues like that. Hers was more of a sassy, like she would talk back to me kind of thing. So I had to figure out how to discipline her completely differently than Lane because they have two completely different needs and their main issues were so different.
And that's what makes it so hard. It's like, oh, I learned with
Mhm.
the first one. Okay, I got this. The second one's coming. And then
Mhm.
it's totally different. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, what are you trying to teach me that I got to do all this stuff? Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
So, and I guess we'll see how it different is with a boy. I don't know. I don't know. I guess it
Yeah.
remains to be seen for you and for me.
Yeah, it's definitely, I don't know. I obviously expect to be I mean, obviously all kids test you at some point, to see
Mhm.
what they can get. But I actually last year I got introduced to this woman, Wendy Speak, and she writes this book called Triggers. And it's like
Mhm.
this book, it's written in two parts, and I'm not going to explain it very well. But the first part is talking about what are the triggers that get you to be upset at your child that has nothing to do with your child. Like, and it's basically what's happening in your life
Mm.
that's making, like, you're tired, you're overwhelmed at work, you're worried about money, like, all these other, you and your husband are actually in a fight and you're taking it out on your child. And so, yeah,
Ooh, yeah, that happens.
yeah. So it's like all these things that like you might in your mind like actually know, but until you like
Mhm.
sit and read about it, it's like, oh yeah, uh-huh, yep, that's the problem that I'm actually having. I'm not
Mhm.
actually mad at my child and I'm
Mhm.
taking it out on them, but I'm actually mad at this. And then
Mhm.
there are things that your child does. The second part is like stuff that your child might be doing, and then how you have to try and teach them. Like these are teachable moments. Like when they're pushing
Mhm.
your buttons and all this stuff, these are teachable moments. So how can you use these moments to teach your kids so that in the future that this behavior decreases? Not that they can definitely, obviously, no one can guarantee behaviors 100% go away, but that they can decrease.
Mhm. Mhm.
And over time, that's supposed to help get better. So I like that book. I actually read when my son. It was sometime in the springtime that I read it. So he was almost
Okay.
one. So I wasn't really having any discipline issues with him, but I was just kind of reading it because I was like, geez, I'm like, I'm getting like, that's the kind of age where they're not talking, but they're like, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it would just frustrate me to no end to not know what he'd want. And it was
Mm-hmm.
more that, work was too hard. I was exhausted and I just wanted him to tell me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
who doesn't
Mm-hmm.
want that? Who doesn't want someone to just tell them what they want?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that actually helped me. And it was nothing that my son was doing wrong. Like he wasn't doing anything wrong that needed discipline at that point. It was
Yeah.
more like I actually just needed something to help me so that I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't going to get frustrated with my son.
Right, right. And that sounds like an interesting book. I'll have to, it's a book you said, right?
Yeah, it's a book, yeah.
I feel
And
like I feel like I heard her name, but I don't remember if maybe you've said it before
yeah,
or
probably.
okay. Okay.
And
Okay.
she actually has done a podcast with another woman. Oh, and I'm not going to remember her name. But she does, anyways, there's another podcast that's Boy Mom.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's this woman, Monica Swanson from Hawaii. And she has a podcast about boy moms. And her and Wendy do a podcast on discipline. That's episode 4, I think, that she did it, discipline on. And they've done like a few more in that boy mom podcast. Because I actually listened to one right before this. We
Okay,
recorded this
okay.
one to like get my mindset on it.
Okay.
And they have like a bunch of things like the biggest thing that I like, because discipline, no matter what, like even if it's for my child, I think about it for school because it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of similar. Like whatever the kids, not that I'm disciplining the kids at school, but obviously the goal is to have classroom management so that you don't need to discipline kids because they're going to
Right.
follow what you do. So one of the things that they talk about is when your kid does something wrong, to just say, like the example that they gave was they went on YouTube when I said not to go onto YouTube, and they caught them going onto YouTube. So all I say to them is, YouTube is done for the family. Shut down the Wi-Fi. We'll talk about it later. And then, like at a quiet time, like right before bed, or at dinner time, or a time that where time has passed, so that you're not upset with the child, and the
Mm-hmm.
child's not upset with you. You can have a calm conversation about it, like you can't be on YouTube when I tell you not to. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
be consistent in how we discipline you. So you know every time you do this, this is what's going to happen. And it's going to increasingly get worse with the more times that you don't follow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more of a calm conversation. So it's not like a yelling match, like who's going to win at the yelling match type of thing,
Right. Mm-hmm.
which might only work for older kids. I don't think if I sat down with my 18-month-old that I would get much out of him.
And good, you guys will have a good heart-to-heart talk.
He'll just say no, no, no the whole time. So
Yeah. Mine says, he goes, no, no, no. Now, and he shakes his finger at me. No, no, no. I'm like, hey, don't, you can't use that on me. Okay.
yeah.
That's what I say to you. Don't.
It's hard though because it's so freaking cute, and it's
I
like
know. I know. I know. And then I smile and then I laugh and then the cycle starts all over.
I know, I know. So have there been any podcasts or books that you have listened to that have helped you?
I have there's a podcast that I listen to pretty regularly and I like it because they're quick. They're
Hmm.
quick little like nuggets that if I'm have a quick car ride, I can actually just I can listen to a whole podcast in a quick car ride because they're only like 15 minutes each, 20 minutes max. And it's called Unruffled. And her name is Janet Lansbury. I think it's Lansbury. And she's been doing it a long time, so there's quite an archive of um of stories,
Episodes?
and it's yeah, of episodes, and it's not all on discipline, but
Right.
I would say the majority are on discipline, and it's mostly like how parents will write in and ask, and I feel like what she's trying to do is teach us how to talk to our kids and how
Hmm.
to respond to them, and even at the age of our kids, of our
Right.
boys, trying to figure out how to respond to them in love and in respect, so that we do not become unruffled.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we don't lose our patience, and so that we can remember that, hey, if our kid is screaming at us for something, they're expressing their emotions, and it's a healthy thing to express your emotions. Maybe the way that they're expressing it is not the way we want them to express it. So it's kind of like, okay, how do we get them to express their emotions in a healthy way? And how do we teach them? We need to teach them that. And we don't need to look at that situation as they're trying to, unruffle us with their screaming and their tantrums. They actually need to release this.
Right.
And we just need to guide them in how to release it in a healthy way, or just let them do what they need to do. And then afterward, come alongside and talk to them about it. I'm probably not doing her justice at all in the way, because I fail at this every single day. And then
No.
I re-listen to some of the podcasts because I'm like, wait, I totally failed. I need to listen to that again.
No. But you can't. I mean, I think that's the goal, I think, of both of the things that we're talking about, is that the goal is not to be just screaming back. If your child's screaming, the
Mhm.
response back should not be you screaming back.
Mhm.
That's the
Mhm.
goal. No
Mhm.
one's going to be perfect 100% of the time, and it's always a work in progress. And I
Mhm.
think the time, because I do experience it with students all the time, you can't expect that, oh, I corrected the behavior once this year. Oh, it's all set. I'll never have to correct that kid again.
Yes.
I don't think that that's a maintainable or manageable thing, because if
Mhm.
that was true, we all would be super healthy and we would never eat anything bad for us, and we would always, be working out and all, so it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I think that we have such high expectations for our kids that ourselves can't even manage. So why would we expect kids who are learning? I mean, these are little
Exactly.
children who don't know. I mean, yes, we have the knowledge of the world, but we
Mhm.
can't just expect them to understand that.
Mhm. I mean, truth be told, I have tantrums myself. They just look different. Like,
Right.
when I lose my patience, I have a tantrum. I have a form of a tantrum, and it just looks a little different than a 4-year-old's tantrum, And so, yeah, so it, we just need to work on expressing our emotions in a healthier way, I guess. There's another book that I read that I love. Um, uh, the main book was written, how to talk so your kids will listen, and listen so your kids will talk. But the one that has spoken to me the most in the phase of parenting that I'm in is how to how to talk so little kids will listen. Right? I think that's what it's called. How to talk so little kids will listen.
Okay.
So it's more of a focus on kids ages, 2 to 7, the ages that
Mm-hmm.
my kids are in, and really how we need to parent them. And it's just the same as what you and I have been talking about. But I love the way that she kind of presents methods and challenges for us to try to do when we see these particular situations arise with our kids.
Yeah, that's good. It's hard. And it's definitely in a cycle, right? I mean,
Hmm.
I wouldn't really know, because my child is, I don't want to say he's a perfect angel, but he's very easygoing, and there's not much work right now to him.
At the age, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, because it's the same with Trip, anything that they are doing at this age is just exploration.
Right.
It's not anything until today, when he looked at me with that smirk and said, when I said come back, and he very clearly said, like, no, I am not coming back. That was the first time I saw sin in that boy.
That's pretty good if you have two
But
older girls and it took him 18 months to get there. I think that's pretty good.
that's very true. That's very true. But he's also my baby, so who knows? I probably overlooked other things because he's too cute in my eyes. But anyway, they're just exploring at this age. They're not doing anything to intentionally like
Right.
get at us. Whereas I think my 4-year-old, she intentionally does things to get under my skin. And, you know, I don't know.
Yeah. But she hasn't always been like that. I mean, it's not, I mean,
No.
it's definitely, it's in waves, just like everything
Yes.
else, you know?
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah. So I think, do you ever find that it's like all, well, I guess it hasn't ever been all three kids at the same time that,
No, but the girls at the same time, and I'm like, okay, which one do I need to discipline first? And okay, and then I'll like start stuttering and muttering and not know where I should look first or what I should do. And yeah, there are times where that happens, and I just feel very overwhelmed, and I kind of have to take a step back, and or I'll say, both of you go to your rooms. I'll deal with you
yeah.
in a little bit. I need a minute.
Well, that
So,
Wendy Speak, who I was talking about before, she has this thing where she said when her kids do something bad, she goes, "Mommy needs a timeout," or she's going to say something she regrets. So you go to your room for until I come up and I can talk to you. And so she puts it
really,
on like herself, like that, so the kids don't feel anymore
hmm
like everything is their fault
hmm
almost. You know,
hmm
she kind of takes ownership of, she knows she can't talk to them at that point
right.
so that she can collect herself. Yeah.
I really like that, and I feel like my 6-year-old is at a stage where that kind of
Talk.
speaking to her, yeah, I can
Yeah.
talk to her in that way and say, "Mommy needs a break. You need to go to your room." Whereas my 4.5-year-old, if I told
No.
her that, she'd be like, "No." She would just look me straight in the face and say, "No," or she'd scream in my face, or she'd, you know, that it's that kind of sassy that I'm still dealing with disciplining her. She just gets so sassy.
Yeah, that's right. Because Wendy's boys are much older. They're, I think, 8, 11, and 14. So they're
Mhm. Mhm.
definitely
Mhm.
older.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that that's kind of, you know, I think that you kind of have to just look to see what works for you, and it's going to be a
Mhm.
trial and error. I don't think it's like you wake up, you had a baby, and oh, okay, I know everything, and
Mhm.
I'll be able to figure it all out.
For sure. I did over the summer, I got really like gung ho about these positive reinforcement type, charts
Yes.
where I was like, okay, if Vale, if you don't scream, like her thing was, because her thing is still screaming. I'm like, every time you scream, you get taken away. But if you don't scream, you get point. It makes more sense when you see it on in a
Right.
visual picture that I had. And so for a while it was working great, and it was really, I was seeing a difference. But of course, I lose my fuel. Like I just it kind of burns out. So then it stopped, and now I'm not doing it, and now she's screaming again. So I guess I probably should go and start that again.
It's so hard. I know. It's just so hard to manage. So, you'll try it again. That's all. So,
Yes. Yes.
all right. Well,
One day at a time.
I know. So I will link in the show notes links to the people and the things that we have talked about so people can check those things out. And
Great.
we'd love to hear from any of you if you have any suggestions or things or people that have helped you, especially as they get older. So,
Hmm.
well, thank you, Theresa, for coming on.
Thank you, and thank you to everybody who's going to offer us some help.
Yes. So everyone have a good week and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.